I've always thought that Dave Chappelle's jokes are I appreciate that he's making them at all, I guess, but the jokes are, I've always thought, kind of pretty safe and tame. He doesn't go nearly.
Wasn't transphobic enough. You hear that? Dave Chappelle wasn't transphobic enough. But then along came an angel in the form of Ricky Gervais, a brave little cis boy showing up. Ricky Gervais is a new superstar in the conservative circles, as to be expected for his latest Netflix special. I wrote down a summary of his thought process right here. This is basically what Ricky Gervais thinks is really funny. Basically starts with the trans penis lull, and then are they rapists, and then fat people equal fat. The woke pedals lull, you really like that one. Ask why everyone's so offended. I should have added also that women comedians can't be funny. What was the other one? You can't say anything anymore would have been another one. Oh, and then he pretty much ends with another trans penis lull series of jokes. So I have seen the Ricky Gervais special in its entirety. It was a day of terrible news yesterday. We're just starting with Ricky Gervais' special and then all the tragedies that were happening.
This begins his book, The Screwtape Letters, with a quote from, I think it was, if I remember correctly, St. Thomas More, saying that the devil cannot endure to be mocked. And that's why he should be, because that's the appropriate response to.
Are you calling Ricky Gervais the devil, or Ricky Gervais fans the devil? Because I noticed when I made this joke, by the way, I posted this as a tweet and then just said this is Ricky Gervais's writing process. The people in the comments were all getting big mad, like, you know, just like that routine, like, leave Ricky alone. Like every single person was like, did you not watch it? Did you not get the jokes? Did you not understand? Why are you going after Ricky? He's like speaking truth and all this kind of shit. I was like, this is a joke too. Does it not work both ways? Can I not call Ricky Gervais a hack? Are you going to be snowflakes about this? I don't understand. I mean, his freedom of speech is to make a transphobic set and then be paid millions of dollars for it. Mine is to make a single tweet and get no money for it, but I think he'll be okay.
Evil is to mock it. That shouldn't be.
Yeah, I know, Olive. I'm doing a bit.
Our only response to evil, but that is an appropriate response. That should be a big part of our rebuttal, as it were, to evil. Because evil is proud, and it's arrogant, haughty, self-involved, narcissistic.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I think it's absolutely ridiculous for conservatives to be like, well, you know what? Trans people just can't take a joke. Every other group can take a joke. I mean, you can do a comedy special about white people for an hour, and everyone's going to think that's hilarious. And it's like, oh yeah, trans people can take a joke because they are made fun of their entire lives. They've actually got far thicker skin than the Matt Walshes or the Ricky Gervais when it comes to being made fun of. They're quite used to it.
And it, you know, it props itself up above everybody, but it's propped up on stilts, which can easily be kicked and knocked over, which is exactly what we should be doing. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of mocking gender ideology, which is from the devil. And ironically, Ricky Gervais.
I haven't heard about that part before. Oh, wow. I don't know. That sounds pretty based.
Doesn't believe.
They always give like the LGBTQ plus community all these superpowers, you know, like all of a sudden we have the power to turn people gay or something, or trans people have the power to turn people trans, you know, it's straight from the devil, straight from Satan's teeth.
Believe in the devil because, you know, he's an atheist, but he does a great job of mocking him, including in this. There's a bit from his new Netflix special, which I think was just launched on Netflix yesterday. And this bit's going viral. And of course, it has the left very, very angry. And here he is making jokes about gender ideology. Now, the thing is, you know, Dave Chappelle gets sort of the credit as being the brave comedian who will, you know, make jokes about the trans phenomenon and all that kind of stuff. I've always thought that Dave Chappelle's jokes are I appreciate that he's making them at all, I guess, but the jokes are, I've always thought, kind of pretty safe and tame. He doesn't go nearly.
Wasn't transphobic enough. You hear that? Dave Chappelle wasn't transphobic enough. But then along came an angel in the form of Ricky Gervais, a brave little cis boy showing up.
As far as he could. It always seems to me that Dave Chappelle, even though he gets credit or blame, depending on how you want to, you know, depending on your perspective, for being the guy who will talk about these kinds of things, It always seems to me like he pulls his punches. And on top of that, also, his recent stand-up specials, I just think aren't that funny. Like, he's not making a lot of jokes. He's just sort of up there.
Okay. I gotta pause for a second and say, for Matt Walsh and like, you know, his enjoyment of Dave Chappelle, for me, like, Dave Chappelle is one of my biggest inspirations, and I could never imagine Matt Walsh sitting through like Killing Them Softly or something like that. And there are parts in his new Netflix specials where I found moments of that brilliance, you know, moments where I was like, you know, almost in tears laughing in the first or second one. His Care Bear routine, his Cosby routine, his like history of Black oppression routine, all just like amazing classic Dave Chappelle. He will set you up on this long story. You have no idea where it's going, and then at the very end realize that was the point of the whole thing, and then just like pull the rug from underneath you, and you just land on the floor laughing hysterically with tears pouring down your eyes. And then it just really upset me in the first one how he was choosing really low-hanging fruit, you know, transphobic jokes, and they weren't even that numerous in the first one, so I was kind of like, that sucks. I hope that isn't going to become a thing. And then it became a bigger thing and a bigger thing and a bigger thing until by the time the closer came out, like, it was one of the predominant themes where he was straight up saying, I'm team TERF, you know, a woman is a biological woman kind of shit. And like that was just so very sad to see. But I couldn't imagine what Matt Walsh would have gotten out of any of them outside of the transphobic jokes. And even then, I don't see him understanding the intersectionality that Dave Chappelle was actually doing very well when he was actually talking about, you know, how gay white dudes don't realize sometimes the privilege they have in society, and they will try to leverage that over straight black men and things like that. Like, all important things that need to be said, all very, very, again, classic Dave Chappelle. His analysis was just on point there. So I could see Matt Walsh just being like, I don't see what the big deal is. What is... I don't really understand it. Why do people like this so much? Oh, he said trans penis. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I like that one. That one's pretty good. Wait, what's he talking about now? He's a lot of white boy comments. I don't like this. Yeah. Oh, he said trans penis again. Okay, okay, I get that. All right, I understand. I don't really get the rest of it.
Preaching. But what he's saying in his preaching isn't really all that
I'm sorry, Olive. I understand.
Provocative or edgy, you know, at all. But here, I think Ricky Gervais really goes for it. Really goes for it. So let's listen.
You know what he's going to play.
The old-fashioned women.
Yep.
Oh, God. You know, the ones with wombs. Oh. Those dinosaurs. No, I love the new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? You know, the new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and they're as good as gold. I love them. No, it's the old-fashioned with it. And now the old-fashioned, they go, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person that isn't a lady? Well, his penis. Her penis, you f***ing bigot. What if he rapes me? What if she rapes you? You f***ing turf whore.
That smug little smile afterwards. Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. Come on.
Now, the great thing is that, yeah, that's funny, but that is also exactly what the trans activists actually say. Like, he didn't say anything in this imaginary conversation between a sane person and a trans activist. He is fairly representing, and this is
What, saying that that's actually not a thing that happens? That it was a scapemonger, a fear-mongering device that was used by you and everyone on the right, and now people on the liberal side of the aisle as well, to get people really mad about bathrooms. That the majority of assaults of cis women occur by cis men in bathrooms, not trans women. That if you take one or two isolated examples and then blow them up to think like this is a massive problem, a lot of people are going to get very afraid and start to believe you. If you actually cared about this issue, then you would address it by saying that we have a problem in which cis men do assault cis women. Perhaps we should look at that. We should look at the high rates of assault that occur there. But no, it's just one more way to vilify a marginalized group.
This shows you how absurd.
And also trans women get assaulted by cis men. Yeah, That's the other thing. That's the other fucked up thing. It's like, yeah, okay, because of a whole bunch of bigots online and one basically hack of a comedian who can't find anything relevant in his career to talk about, so he's got to punch down to marginalized communities, we've decided that, unfortunately, even though you are a woman, a trans woman, you will have to use the male bathroom. You will be potentially at an increased risk by doing so, of being assaulted yourself, but that's a risk we're willing to take, it would seem.
It is that he could stand on stage as a stand-up comedian and simply say exactly what these people actually say, and it's a hilarious punchline, because that's how insane it is. Her penis, like that's what they say. That is 100% what they say. There's absolutely no straw manning going on there.
Yeah, because I don't live in a world where the only thing that defines me is my cock. Like, I am nothing but cock, a sentient cock, wobbling around society all day and all night, looking for things to have sex with. That is all I am, and occasionally urinate out of the tip of my head. Like, you are more than your penis, Matt. Allow me to liberate you, okay? You are more than a man than what dangles between your legs, okay? Or does not dangle. That's kind of the point. It doesn't matter.
And is this the right approach? Like, should we be doing?
To be fair, Matt Walsh is nothing more than a cock. Yeah, but not literally, figuratively. That's the difference.
Doing this? Should comedians be up there? Should anyone be making jokes about this? Yes, absolutely. Because the claims that the gender ideologues are making and what they're doing, it's very serious. It's incredibly damaging.
See, exact same person who in the 1950s would have been justifying blackface shows. Exact same thing. See, people are trying to tell you that this is a little bit offensive to certain groups, but I gotta tell you, that's dangerous ideology. See, they're trying to replace us. See, they're trying to get rid of the white race, and we can't allow that. So we should be allowed to have our shows where we put on the shoe polish and then dance around and then call them all kinds of names. And why are they trying to say the N-word is bad? See, it's not my idea.
They're hurting people. They're mutilating kids.
Nope.
They're killing people, actually, putting kids on a path to despair and suicide. So it's very serious on one hand.
Their suicidal ideation goes down the less stigmatized they feel by society. Because of people like you, assholes like you, who think this whole thing is a game, you were the ones who actually directly endanger trans kids. You were the ones that put their lives in danger. Because you've got people on the internet with huge platforms consistently telling them how they're lesser than, how they're freaks, or how they're different, or how they're just stupid kids who don't understand what they are, when they're actually beautiful people, incredible individuals, and they should deserve all the same rights as everyone else.
But also, their whole worldview is totally insane and ludicrous. And so while we should deal with it on the serious level as well, we should also highlight just how ludicrous it is. Mockery is a very important tool that I think up until recently, especially when it comes to gender ideology, the sane people have been really reluctant to use.
Oh yeah, this is the first time mainstream people have been making fun of trans people. Yeah, first time that's ever... Not a very popular thing amongst comics for a very, very long time now. Even Jimmy Dore has routines about that. Old routines from comedy shows that he was doing, like, what, I think in the 90s? Like, this is not new. Like, have you ever watched stand-up? Do you know how long the LGBTQ plus community has been the butt end of jokes? Like, have you seen Delirious? Have you seen anything?
It's a tool that we've been very reluctant to use. And I say we, like, not me, because I haven't been reluctant to use it, but generally speaking, you know, it's sort of the universal we. We've been very reluctant to use this very powerful tool. And it's a tool that the left has, until recently, until they launched their all-out war. Like, comedy's not allowed now on the left. They don't believe in it. But up until that, until they went full Puritan, right, the tool.
I fucking love comedy, by the way, and I love talented comedians. I like comedians who aren't just standing around being like, okay, so what can I make fun of here? I guess black people, trans people, gay people. They take it up the butt. That's pretty funny. Comedy gold right there. Yeah, this is gonna be a great routine. Can't wait. Gonna make a whole bunch of jokes. All right, so let's do a whole set. We got it. Sounds great. I'm not even the person saying that you can't make jokes, by the way. I'm not the joke police. I'm the person saying that why is everyone so mad when people in the opposite direction call you hacks? When we're like, you cannot tell a joke to save your life. And suddenly, all of a sudden, you're all snowflakes. The free speech goes out the window. It's like, oh, goddamn, fuck. They're trying to cancel us.
Tool of mockery is something they use to great effect. And yes, we should be using it here to again highlight that this is ludicrous.
So, as a scary trans TM, I don't love all the comparisons to racism when looking at our oppression. Like, I appreciate the support, but racism towards black people is on an entirely different level and feels icky to suggest that what I'm experiencing as a white passing trans person is the same centuries of oppression. I would never compare them one to one. What I'm saying is that the same bigotry that Matt Walsh would be doing in today's day and age, because it's socially, well, I would say within his circle, socially acceptable, is the same thing that was mainstream socially acceptable back in the day. But it need be said that, of course, black trans women and black trans men and black non-binary people have much harder experiences and much more difficult experiences because of the intersectionality of it all. They will have to undergo both the racism that they endure as a result of being black, as well as the prejudice that's going to be thrown towards them for being trans at the same time.
No, we're not going to take it seriously. Okay? The moment you start talking about women with penises, this is not like we're going to sit down and have a conversation about it and take your point of view seriously. Okay, the moment you talk about men having babies, we're not going to dignify that by pretending that there's anything credible in your claim whatsoever.
By the way, most of the advocates or people talking about this stuff are not the ones talking about those issues. Like, that's not the opener of a conversation on this debate when it comes to gender. Like, the discussion of gender is usually to try and get people who haven't wrapped their heads around it to separate sex from gender. It's not to be like, hey, by the way, I want to bring this issue up and I want to talk to you about some things that we know you're not going to be receptive to. That comes from the other direction. You're the ones who obsess with the genitals.
You're going to be mocked for that because it's insane. But then, so I wish I could just end it there and say about Ricky Gervais, great job, great routine. It does legitimately take courage to do what he did there. And they're going to come.
It's the same jokes he was making in his previous special. You weren't running to say Ricky Gervais is such a brave man. He had an entire routine about Caitlyn Jenner. It was like a big part of his set.
After him. I mean, if they went after, think about what Chappelle said about all this. Really mild. Okay? It's nothing like that at all. And so if they went after Chappelle, they're going to have to, and on top of it, Gervais is also a white man. And he's going a lot harder against this than Chappelle ever did. So they're going to come after him. It's just going to be the hounds of hell after this guy. And so that takes a lot of courage, absolutely. It shouldn't take courage. This is your job. You know, you make jokes.
It's not courage. It's fucking money. It's all about the money. You're getting paid lots and lots of money to keep doing this.
Comedian.
It's profitable. This shit could not be more mainstream right now.
Most comedians make jokes about things that are happening in society. This is the role. This is why comedians are important. They're supposed to, you know, they're supposed to poke the sacred cows, you know, the elephant in the rooms that we don't talk about in society. Those are the things they're supposed to be pointing at and laughing at. That's the role that they are supposed to play. It's what makes them important.
I gotta, like, this is just a little weird to me because, like, I'm a huge fan of comedy, and I agree the best comedians and my heroes throughout history, and one of them used to be Dave Chappelle, are people who do speak truth to power and can do it in a comedic fashion that, like, both lets you laugh hysterically and then go home and be like, wow, that was a really fucking good point. That's great. But they're not the only arbiters of social change. Like, it shouldn't simply rely on comedians to change the world. This kind of idea, like, if it wasn't for the comedians coming out and having the bravery to talk about how trans people should be marginalized, then, you know, this kind of stuff would never take place.
So, and all that's good. And I wish I could leave it right there. But then in the Daily Wire article about this, it says this, quoting Ricky Gervais in this same special, I guess shortly after that bit right there, he says, okay, full disclosure, in real life, of course, I support trans rights. I support all human rights, and trans rights are human rights. Live your best life. Use your preferred pronoun. Well,
that's directly from the special. He does, right after he say the last sentence, say something along the veins of, but ladies, lose the cock.
First of all, that's not going to save you, Ricky. Like, there's no qualifier you can add at the end of that that's going to blunt the impact when they come after you. They're going to try to destroy you now, and there's nothing you can say afterward. Nothing that's going to change that.
Is this the first time he's heard about Ricky Gervais? Does he not know Ricky Gervais has quote-unquote been canceled already? Like, extremely canceled to the worst levels of cancellation that is possible on the Twitters or in the social medias? Like, that's already happened. It's people know every like, this is like him doing a video right now and being like, apparently they're gonna go after J.K. Rowling. Yeah, that's right. Author of beloved children's books, one of the best-selling authors of all time. They're gonna go after her because apparently they don't agree with what she says. I have to speak out about this.
So you might as well just let the joke stand. The joke, which is not really a joke, right? Just let it stand and move on to your next material. There's no reason the qualifier, oh, of course I support trans rights.
By the way, it's pretty telling if you didn't think that, you know, you could hide behind just the joke. Look at the things that the people who hate trans people the most pick up on.
But the moment you say that,
He did the transphobic equivalent of no homo. Yeah.
It has the effect, what's going to do is undo everything that you just said.
Ricky wasn't being canceled. He got criticism. None of them, like, when they say these people are being canceled, I always think, like, in what way? How do you think this magical, mythical cancel culture works? Yeah, they get a fuck ton of criticism, and then they sign on to an even more expensive special and make a fuck ton more money. And then they get to use that special to talk about how canceled they were and how they came for them. And you can't speak the truth anymore. And I'm being silenced. And are you offended? Is everyone too offended and everyone just can't take a joke anymore? You know, look what happens to me. I only get $20 million to do another Netflix special.
Because, well, you support trans rights. Well, but they would tell us that it is a matter of trans rights that biological men should be able to use the women's room. So do you support that then? Or maybe you just mean that, well, I support human rights, and so I support the human rights of all people, including trans people. Well, yes, if that's what you mean, then we can agree on that, because anyone who believes that...
No, you can't. You just said that you don't want them using washrooms. I think the right to pee is probably going to be pretty essential in human rights. If you're like, yeah, I think you have the rights of a human, but at the same time, you can't go to the bathroom. Ever.
Human rights exist, believes that they exist in all people. But that's, when you say trans rights, that's not what anyone means when they say that. That's not what the trans people mean. They don't just mean, oh, I want the same rights as everybody else. No, that's not what they mean. Because if you just wanted the same rights as everybody else, then you wouldn't need to put the qualifier of it, trans rights. I want trans rights. No, you'd just be out there saying, I want human rights. And any trans person...
All rights matter.
...marching saying, I want human rights, I fully agree. You should have human rights.
Yeah, people do think that, by the way. People who are for liberation of trans people, at least on the left, as far as my experience, broadly speaking, are for the liberation of all people. This is not simply, it starts and ends with trans people. I would like to end the oppression of everyone.
Good news, you have them. So you're fine. Like, no one is taking them from you. You have them. You're good to go. You can put the sign down, go and live your life, because you have human rights. You have the same rights as anybody.
No, they don't.
So no, when they march for trans rights, they want more than that. They want rights on top of human rights.
Yeah, that's why in Canada, under Bill C-16, like, gender discrimination had to be added. Like, at the end of the day, people could be fired. People could be evicted simply for being trans. That's not the same human rights. If you don't even have a home because you can get kicked out of your house because your landlord is disgusted by the fact you're trans, if you can get fired from your job because your boss is disgusted that you're trans, you don't have the same human rights. It's one of the key points of the quote-unquote victories for the Civil Rights Act came from the ability to not pass discrimination upon people simply because of the color of their skin, things like that. Like, fighting for those kind of rights are essential.
Okay, they want to be able to do things that other people can't do. Prior to trans rights, everybody had the same rules and had to respect the same rules when it comes to bathrooms. You use the bathroom that is in accordance with your biological identity. That's it. It doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter what's going on in your head, doesn't matter how you identify, just that's it. Everyone uses the same one. You're coming along and saying, no, I want an exception to that. I want to be the exception. And so that's what the trans activists are doing. They want to be one exception after another. I want to be the exception to this, I want to be the exception to that. I want you to reorient society around me. I want you to toss reality, truth, biological science, common sense, decency. I want you to toss all that out the window for me.
How often do you watch people poo? It's kind of my question. How many hours a day are you watching people shit, Matt? Because it sounds like you have a problem. It sounds like all of society had to be changed for you because a couple things were confusing.
So whether you mean it or not, when you say, I support trans rights, that is what you are supporting, because that is what everybody means when they talk about trans rights. So that's just, man, it's like...
Woo! Hey, good name. Minty Treasure. Scat Walsh. We'll go with Scat Walsh. That's the Scat Walsh report, everybody. On the Scat Walsh show. Thanks for the scatology. It was great. Had a wonderful time. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free. Just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Egbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Vivienne McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.